Good morning, everyone. Today I woke up and I thought to myself it would be quite nice if I put together a video which takes a user through the whole process of setting a Sharepoint list up, create an app that allows you to amend that list, and then finally to surface the list that you've created in Power BI. So here goes. Okay, so here we go. Let us fire up. Yeah, by all means, if you really like this, you can get me a Millennium Falcon. So I am gonna get myself into SharePoint. So in we go. Bit of that. Bit of that. And fire up SharePoint. Here we go. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a simple list once we've gone into our SharePoint site. So I've got a simple site here where which is kind of geared around events and so on. So I think I'll pop it into that site here. So let's just get this up. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's call it timesheet. So I'm going to say new list, and we're going to call it timesheet, list showing how time has been spent, and let's just think of a few columns. I think on this one I'm going to use the I don't normally use the title. It just comes through as slightly strangely as I recall when you kind of build it in PowerApps. I'm going to give it a go on this occasion. We'll see how we go. So we are going to have a number here. No wonder, decimal places. I'm going to say we're just going to do 1 decimal place, and I'm going to put it as hours and number of hours worked, and we'll say save that, and we're going to say pop another column in, and we're going to go single line of text, and we'll call this the activity, and save out of that. And we might as well do something like put in, let's say it's the client or something like that. So we'll go single line of text, and we'll say client, yeah, say client. So we'll save out of that, and in actual fact we better put date in, because otherwise it's going to be pretty useless without that. So we're going to go for a date field. I don't want to call it date because that's going to be too easy. Maybe date. Let's go with date. Let's call it work date, just so we don't get confused later on. Okay, so and let's just sort of demonstrate, obviously without the likes of PowerApps, how that might work. So you'd kind of go in fact, cancel that. So we are this title thing always has to be completed, and I'm just gonna see if I can change that hours, this one, into a column settings. Okay, I can rename this column. So I'm gonna go on to the list settings where you get a few more options. I'm gonna see what we can do on this one here. That's the title one there. Yeah, this one can only be a description by the looks of things. So let's call this one the, let's say customer, and I'll get rid of client. Customer. Let's call this. I'll cancel out of. I'm going to cancel out of this. I'm going to go into that activity. I'm going to delete that one, and delete that. OK to that. And then I'm going to rename the title to activity. Activity. And I'm going to OK that. Now, so let's see what we've got here. So we've got activity, hours, client, work date. You get a lot of things out of the box in terms of created by, and all this sort of thing, and they're actually extremely useful. So I am going to go back onto the timesheet here, and I am going to change the view to make edit current view, because there are certain fields I would quite like in here, and I want to do a created by, because that is pretty handy. I'm not bothered so much about when it was created, so we'll go with that. And created by is essentially who it was created by. You don't have control over this piece here. It's to do with the authenticated user and so on. So so if we were to do an entry here, we could say the activity is, let's just say it's creating a video, and we could say that it was, let's say it was 1.2 hours. We could say the client is the world, and we could enter the date as being, let's just pretend that I actually did it last week. So we put in there's a 9th, 9/11/2017. That's wonderful, and we will save out of that. So we've got a we'll pop another line item in here, because it'll probably make life a little bit easier when we actually build the app. So we oh, hi there. So just took a call actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new line in here. So I'm going to say took app phone call, hours. I think it was more like towards the 0.6. 0.6. I'm not sure how fussy this thing is. Client, I'll put Stephen. And the work date was, well, we'll go with today. I'll go with today on that, and I'll press the save button. So we have a very simple timesheet, which we are now going to create a equally simple Power App for. So what we're going to do is we are going to hit the PowerApps button, create an app. We're going to call it timesheet, and we are going to hit the create button. So this thing will just whiz away and create an app for us. We're going to do all the editing online. I've never had any particular problems with it online. As it happens, it tends to work a bit more slowly on the computer. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the online experience. So this is got some way through building us a 3-screen app. The first screen is like a review screen. So we can see that we've got 3 screens here: the browse screen, the details screen, and the edit screen. And these are all of the objects, I guess you would call them. Now, what it tends to do is make an absolute mess of the things that you would actually like to have in your list. So or in your view. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to refer back to let's go to this SharePoint list, get it events, because it's bounces directly onto so I'm going to it bounces directly onto the PowerApps page. I'm going to go onto this timesheet, and we know that we have got just a number of things here. So what we're going to so we've got activity, hours, client, work date, and created by is a default. So I'm not sure how this activity is going to come through. So I'm going to go onto PowerApps. I am going to right. I just need to view the data sources. So what I want to do was just get a bit of a view of those. But in any case, we can get a shot of this anyway. So so I'm going to just click on one. So it's going for compliance asset ID. I've no idea, but it's one of the things that you get straight out of the box with any SharePoint list. So yeah, you can see this has got this item dot title. Well, that's actually the activity, and you can see that because we went for even though we renamed the field to activity, it still comes through as title, and this is why I don't like using it. So I'm just going to sort of make this look a bit neater. There's actually a full page view on this. So we've took a phone call. I'm going to just do a straight. I'm going to do a copy and paste of this, and it's going to be this item dot hours, and so this is the number of hours that we had. I'm going to just pump up the font size here, so we'll pop it in there, and let's just go with the font. Let's go with font. Oh, that's the actual font. Let's go with size. We'll go with let's go with 30. Okay, and let's go with color. I'm going to put green. Yeah, good. And we're going to go with fill, and I'm going to put it as grey. I might have to put light grey. I'm only doing this because we can. Yeah, that's kind of nice. So we'll kind of push that all the way up there. Took a phone call. It was 0.6 hours. This is the client. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do insert label, and the text is client. Just put quotes in there. Pop that in there. Took a phone call, and we want to put the date in here, so I'm going to go with, yeah, so what I want to do now is I want to bring in the date. We called it work date. Now I'm fairly sure, yeah, it's come through as the American format, which is obviously pretty horrible. No offense to the Americans out there, but if you're a European, it's actually quite hard to get your head around this this particular format. So what I'm going to do is I am going to change the format so that we can so it's easier for us to read. So the format for this is as follows. So I'm just going to borrow the this structure here. In fact, I am going to cheat. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do that, and so this is quite a nice thing that you can do with this. So you can put in d space, so you get the days and so on. So it's very neat. So the objective of this this whole session is to take us through fairly quickly, so we can see that this works. What I'd like to do is to just take a quick look at the view. So took a phone call, work date. Okay, well we could, if we wanted to, let's have a quick look at this text here. Text value. Okay, that's not leaping out at me, but there are ways of making this piece work. So I'm not going to go with this at the moment. So what I'm going to do now is to just check the edit screen works nicely. Okay, took a phone call. Okay, well it's quite a nice little picker on this. So it does mean that if you actually just pick it out, then it will work for you nicely. So if we want to sort of change it to be, I don't know, Monday the 6th, in it pops, you okay that, and then you get it there. Now I think what I've done in the past is I've actually I've hidden the hidden this with another label and pushed in the date from there. So so that's that working. I will come off this and come off this, and then demonstrate that this this actually works in terms of being able to let's say doing the shopping. Hours, or it took ages, 2.5. The client is, let's say it's home, home. And then I will save out of that. Good. Save. So we've created another line item there, doing the shopping, etc., etc. In fact, let's just create another couple. In fact, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the app actually working, or how the app will actually work. So in you go, you pop this on here, you put the activity in. The activity is it could be creating proof of concept. Let's say it took 4 hours. Let's say the client was the BBC, and you can put in the date as being Wednesday. You can okay that, and then if you submit the item, then in it pops. You can see we've got 4 hours here, and if we go on to the events piece and we refresh it, we're going to have our 4 items on here. In they pop. So the next part of this, so we've actually created an app. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this. That's another app that I've done. Leave that. So yeah, so we'll go on to, I don't need this, apologies, I'm bouncing around here. yeah, what we're going to do with this is we are now going to publish it. So first of all, save it. Once you've saved it, you then get the opportunity to publish it. If you publish it, it then means the people, it is a published version as opposed to the previous published version. And then once you've done that, you can share it with various people in your organization. So you move on to the share piece and put in various people's usernames, and away you go. So pop in the names. In fact, you can add everyone in your organization. You can do it an email or not, as the case may be. So cancel that. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a Power BI document that expresses this timesheet, but in a more visual fashion. I think because we've got so few items on here, it's probably not going to look amazing. So on we go. We are going to do get data. So we have a fresh report here. We are going to do Sharepoint online list. We go connect to that. I am going to pick up my URL here, which is just everything up to here. So in it pops, okay to that. Okay. So what we're going to get is all the lists that exist within this within the events piece here. And we should see timesheet down there. That's what we want. I'm going to go straight to edit. You get an awful lot of fields that aren't that much use whatsoever. So we're going to just sort of pare it down to the most useful fields. I'm waiting for the Power Query piece to come up, which is over here. Now what I'm going to do is I will keep the ID because that's kind of handy, but I'm going to delete a lot of, I'll actually do that, and I will keep title obviously, and hours and client and work date. Modified is always quite good. And I don't know if it's got my name in there. So what I'm going to do, what I'm looking for is, yeah, I'm going to keep these two here as well. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to go remove other columns. So we're going to get a nice tight list here. I think I'm actually going to delete this one as well. And I will just expand this because what I want is, let's go with, I will go with name. Go with name, see what it comes up with. Hopefully it'll come up with my name. It's essentially, yeah, that's not very nice. I am going to not use that. You can sort of see that it there are all sorts of different bits and pieces you can get. But I'll sort of pick out the. Well, let's go with first name, last name, and see what happens here. So first name, last name. Okay, what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to pull these two together, so many options on this actually that so I'm looking for the merge columns option. I don't want merge queries though. Oh, well, I thought for a second now I'd lost this actually. So it's saying recorded recording, good, okay, fine. So yeah, just need to pause that. Yeah, so under add column you have merge columns. I'm going to merge these columns, and I am going to do separator. I'm going to go with space. I'm going to put it called name. Okay to that. As you can see, I hope it's going to do that. Yeah. Okay, well I'll delete those here. Okay, delete those. Okay, well I should have merged it the other way around, but that's fine. So it's gone last name, first name. You can always change this. And under title, I'm going to put it as activity. And yeah, I don't mind inserting the step. I'll go to the end here. Notice that the hours have come through as a as a text field, and that would be important, because you wouldn't be able to actually do any kind of metrics using this if you left it as a text field. So got ID, I don't mind about that. Interestingly enough, I did not require a work date, and so consequently we don't actually have a date for that. So obviously you'd need to make sure that the field was a required field in the app itself. So what I'm going to do is I am going to close and apply on that. That's going to take us back to this area here where we can do our timesheet. Any second now we'll have a little set of tables here. No relationships because it's just one table, and you know, this is the point at which you can I know we don't like pie charts, but you can put the values on hours. I know we went at 4 activities, so it's fairly easy, and we can put the details here, took a phone call, etc., etc. You know, we can start to sort of build out all sorts of filters of different kinds. So maybe we'd want a client filter, pop that in there, and maybe as well as having that, just because it was sort of interesting, we would do something like this, but in actual fact I want the activity on the axis. So yeah, there's all sorts of ways to do it. In reality, the chances are you'd probably want to have create a date dimension and so on. But for the purposes of this exercise, I'm just going to rattle us through this. So I'm going to go File. Oops. Yeah, let's go Save As. I am going to just go to down. Actually, where shall I put it? I shall. Well, for the moment, I'm just going to stick it on my desktop, and I'm going to call this demo. Demo timesheet demo. Okay, good. Right, working on that, and now we are going to publish it. So we're going to go with, well, let's put it onto the events page. There, we're going to select that. Okay, off it goes. Yeah, you can see how quick it is. Not a big surprise that it's fast, given there's hardly anything in there. So we have a report, but it doesn't have a dashboard. So what we're going to do is go pin live page, pin to a new dashboard. Let's call it timesheet demo. Okay, and we are going to go pin live. Lovely. So go to the dashboard, and we are going to yeah, just resize that a bit. Now bear in mind, when you've got a dashboard like this, then you kind of click into it and then you get to actually to the main report. So if you've got a number of tabs, then you come out of the dashboard and you move into here. Now the reason I wanted to show you this was because I'd quite like to see if we can get the Power App into this area here. So, okay, so just had to remind myself of how to embed this piece here. I've got a piece of code here. It's not very long. It's actually not going to work first off, and the reason, it's a shame actually, this but the code kind of goes along, so it creates an iframe and so on, and then what it needs just here, a little bit up here, is something from the PowerApps details pane. So what I'm going to do is go onto the PowerApps. I am going to that's on our this is the PowerApps page here, and we just need to jump into the details pane. I think it may even be under share, which is pretty mad. So when you go onto when you go onto that page, it gives us a piece of information that we need. So when it finally wakes up again. So if I go to details, then what we can see is here is the app ID. If I grab that and I move back to timesheets and I go from here down to here, paste that in, just and you can see that actually works. So I'll try and pop this down at the in the details of this. So I'll hit apply on that, and so we've created that. That's wonderful. And what we can do is we can actually interact with this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make it slightly bigger. Obviously not. Not quite sure why it doesn't seem to want to make itself any bigger. But I think with a bit of persuasion, I think it's eventually getting itself there. So there we are. Okay, and this will behave just like a normal app at this point. So yes, you can get it onto your phone and all that sort of thing, but this is kind of a nice way of doing it. So you can hit the plus, you can say more things, and you can put in 3 hours on that, and you can have the client as being someone else. Hit the drop down, put a day for it, okay to that, and then you can okay this, and now that won't immediately be reflected up here because we would need to go onto the data set and hit the refresh now button. So the other thing that's a bit weird about the refresh now is that yes, it'll kind of get on and do it. This is a new thing actually. It looks like it's as far as schedule refreshing is actually it's defaulting to keep it actually refreshed, which is kind of nice. So that's probably because it's not the timesheet demo. In fact, it is because of that. Timesheet demo, yeah, refresh schedule not enabled. So I'm going to hit refresh now. So, and this all just works straight out of the box. So if we go on to schedule refresh on the timesheet demo and we look at the refresh history, we can see that right now it's just done its thing, which means that when we go on to the timesheet demo dashboard, we should see that we've got our extra piece of information. Looks like this video is sort of hitting the sort of 35 minutes mark. But what we've done in that time is we've created a SharePoint list. We've turned the list into a Power App. We have published the Power App. We've created a Power BI report from the SharePoint list. We've then published it up to the Power BI service, and we've also created an interface where we can actually have the Power App visible on the same page as the data itself. So I think that's pretty good value. So please like this if you found it useful, and I'll drop some code down at the bottom. If there's any bits and pieces that you think are missing, do let me know. Thanks.